The day is January 1st, 2024. Happy New Year to all of you who were out last night getting absolutely shit-faced. And now, I guess, because it's going to be a long one, I guess we gotta get involved very quickly. Here we are, Wrestling News Channel number 23, and this is our annual WWE releases video. We're showcasing every release of 2023 and where they are currently in this world as of the 1st of January 2024. There's really not much else to go into this one. It's going to be a long one. So let's start off with the first batch of releases that were released before making their main roster debut, finalising all of these releases on January 19th. We start off with a little bit of a UK indie scene group here. Ava Valkyrie, Dani Luna, and Isla Dawn. All three of these women were released, obviously, at the same time, same with everyone on here, and they are now all touring the UK indie scene, working for companies like Rev Pro and Eve. The former Bea Priestley, Blair Davenport, or now the former Blair Davenport, now Bea Priestley, is back in Japan working over in Stardom again. Candice LeRae, obviously, was one of the shocking releases of the list. She was in maternity leave at the time and was giving birth to their second child, and then since then has officially retired from the ring and become a backstage man, just a backstage road agent kind of. Yeah, road agent, that's the word I'm looking for. Next after that, Ikemen Jiro, one half of Jack Atom, obviously in NXT, has got an exclusive deal with DDT to go and work over there in Japan. Next up, Caden Carter, the former Lacey Lane, now works in the US indie scene, just touring around. And then here's the biggest one of the lot, I'd say, Kushida. Obviously, Japanese sensation has gone back to New Japan, in fact, and won the New Japan World Tag League with the former Dragon Lee, now Ryu Lee. That is the biggest success story of everyone released so far. Next up, we're going to group together Levi Muir, Wolfgang, and Wild Boar, as they are now all together on the UK indie scene. After that, we got Nash Carter. Obviously, Zachary Wentz has not wrestled since his release, and there will be no further comments made. Stevie Turner, could have definitely grouped them with the UK indie scene before, but Stevie Turner, now Bobby Tyler, is currently working exclusively in Rev Pro. Finally, Zoe Stark was then released and in August signed a contract with AIW after recovering from her torn ACL. And that is only the first batch of releases. The next batch, obviously, these are the big ones. This is your post-Mania releases. This has got, I'd say, probably some of the biggest names out of all of them. But let's start off with Paige. Brittany Knight, obviously, now has done a couple signings in the UK indie scene, just around the UK scene, just doing some signings for fans, and has officially announced an in-ring return for 2024. That's something you can look forward to if you're a part of the UK indie scene. Go around and watching a Brittany Knight Paige match for the first time in quite a few years, I'd say. Next up, a man who probably should have been released literally a year prior, Ali. Ali was indeed freed, as he is now touring the American indie scene, and is currently the AIW Intense Champion, has made 3 defenses of said belt. Next up was Titus O'Neil, now just going by Titus. He is officially retired and has worked as an on-screen character for both Shimmer and AAW. After that, we've got Boa, the now back as Yambo Wang, has worked some of the US indie scene, but has not been heard of since August. We wish him well. Next up, probably the biggest one out of everyone on this entire list, Sami Zayn was released and is now going by Remy Sebe. Obviously, he's El Generico's mate, and is currently working in both AIW and Ring of Honor, and also currently holds the ROH 6-man tag team titles with Zim Salmani and Sonny Disa, the former Authors of Pain. What an interesting team that is. After this is Akira Tozawa. He is now just going by Tozawa and is signed an exclusive contract to go and work in Dragon Gate over in Japan. We obviously hope he's doing well over there. And the final one on here, Alex Goodridge. Alex Goodridge, obviously the former Roderick Strong, going back by Roderick Strong now, is working in both AIW and ROH, and is now ROH Tag Team Champion with Samurai Del Sol, obviously the former Kalisto. And that was kind of it for the post-Mania releases. Now we go to the post-SummerSlam releases. This is a much shorter list, but still a massive list. Wendy Chu, the first one, obviously Karen Q, now is working just the US indie scene. Obviously, Shinsuke Nakamura is the big one on here. He went on a hiatus originally, but has recently just announced he has signed back with New Japan for Wrestle Kingdom this year, which I'm sure will be a sight to be seen. Make sure you're watching Wrestle Kingdom this year just to see Shinsuke Nakamura. Next one, Finn Balor. Finn Balor, obviously now going back by Prince Devitt, is currently working with MLW, and just as a side note, recently lost in a Caribbean heavyweight title match against Myron Reed. Just thought I'd add that. Next one, Cedric Alexander. Yep, he is now working with MLW, which I do think is a good fit for him, and I hope he does well. And now back to the MLW train. Chad Gable, now going by Charles Betts, works with MLW and AIW, and has been putting on good matches. And finally from this batch, Joy Hackney, obviously the former Xia Brookside, now tours the US and the UK indie scenes. Now, finally, we have this final batch of releases, the post-Survivor Series October releases. They include the top name on the list there, definitely, Liv Morgan. Now, Gianna Dardio is now working with AIW and has been putting on clinics between her and Killer Kelly and BLP as well. Next up, Ridge Holland. Now, Luke Menzies is touring the UK indie scene, has done a couple of independent shows here in the US. Next up, Ivy Nile. Didn't really get the ground running. Emily Angelis, I'm very sorry if I've mispronounced that, is now touring the American and the Japanese indie scene over there. We wish her best in her future. Next up, Apollo Crews, Yuhan Nation, was only released recently and actually has not worked a single match since August 23rd, 2023. We hope he gets back on the scene soon. And finally, as of the actual releases, Eddie Burnett, obviously Jordan Devlin now, was the most recent release, happening barely 3 days ago on December 29th. We hope he finds work very shortly. So that's a very long list that we've gone through. We've missed out a couple of names on there, but that's because they have not been seen and or have left the wrestling business, so we decided to not mention their names. But we have there's 3 names that have been left out of this list. I feel like they need to be done individually. They were not releases, these 3. They let their contract expire, and are now free agents as of January 1st. The first one is Edge, Adam Copeland, obviously. He was not offered an extension after taking some backstage shots on a radio show against the women's champion, Amale Winchester. We obviously think this is the reason behind him not being offered this extension, as Winchester's been shown as a prominent member of the SmackDown Women's Division, so it makes sense that Edge was not offered an extension here. Doesn't actually, but we're going to say that it works better in my head if I say that's why. Next up, Goldberg. Didn't sign an extension, he's 57 years old. He is capable of working, but can't work more than a 3-minute match, and the WWE just didn't feel like they needed him on their books anymore. They weren't in tune with paying £100,000 per appearance. And finally, saving the best till last, John Cena was not offered an extension with the WWE after being with the company for 20 plus years, has officially left after not signing an extension after wrestling at WrestleMania. Hopefully went off to go and film a major movie, and now he is a free agent technically in the wrestling business, still filming for the next few months, but will definitely be on the radars of some of the big indie companies out there who maybe just want the one-time pop. He's going to be an expensive payday, but that the idea of having John Cena at your show is something that was a pipe dream 5 years ago and now is entirely plausible for any of these indie companies. However, that is the end of the releases / expiring lists. We hope you have enjoyed, and we wish everyone who was sadly released from their job to this year, we hope that they will find work soon, as everyone here is as talented enough to be able to. We hope that they will find work eventually, and eventually this, and hopefully, hopefully we don't have to make this video next year, because it is hard going through and making a list of every single WWE release, because it just makes you sad. All this talent just being wasted. We're so happy that there is a sufficient amount of indie companies out there that are willing to take these guys on, like AIW and MLW. But that will do it. What was the most shocking name on the list to you guys? Let me know in the comments. I have been Wrestling News Channel number 23. This was teaser number 5. Expect the WWE recap next.